Budget fam, it's Jordan from Jordan Budgets. Today we are going to talk about how much it costs to raise a child. I think this video is going to be very fun. I would invite you guys to participate. If you have a YouTube channel, go ahead and let me know in the comments below if you want to collab on this. I would love to make a running playlist of other YouTubers and how much it costs them in their area to raise their kids. So a couple of things before we jump into the numbers. I do want to let you know first, I have a 6-year-old and an 8-year-old. So of course when they were younger, there was more childcare expenses. I also paid a lot more for summer camps last year. If they were older, their sports fees might be more expensive, for example. But this is exactly why I think collaborating with you guys, and if some other YouTubers want to jump on and make this same video, I think it would be a lot of fun because we can compare different age prices and also different areas. So I live in South Mississippi. This is considered to be one of the cheapest states to live in. And while running these numbers, I was like, holy cow, how is everybody else surviving? This video idea started because I did want to give you guys some information about how much it costs to homeschool. The video idea kind of evolved though, because as I was pricing out exactly how much I pay for homeschool expenses, then I started to realize there's so many activities and things we do, we pay more for because we're homeschooling. But some of our expenses that I consider homeschooling expenses are also just the price of having kids and having them in activities. So with all of that being said, I want to take just a second to introduce myself. Hi, hello, welcome if you are new here. My name is Jordan. I am a single mom of a 6-year-old and an 8-year-old. We currently live in South Mississippi. On this channel, we talk about a lot of things. We talk about home life. We talk about making money on Etsy and YouTube because that's my full-time income. We also do a lot of cash budgeting on this channel. I will say this channel, we do a lot, but it circles around budgeting related things, right? So with all of that being said, let's start jumping into these numbers. And if you see me referring to a sheet of paper, it's just because I've written everything down. We are going to talk about childcare expenses in these different categories: housing, food, healthcare, childcare, clothing, transportation, education, sports, and miscellaneous and fun. And then towards the end of the video, we're gonna talk about a couple of things that I'm not even mentioning or putting into these prices. The U.S. Department of Agriculture says that from ages birth to 18, one child is going to cost $233,610. Now that estimate was put out before 2022, and in 2022, they said that this number should be increased by about 22% to account for inflation. Now we all know inflation in 2023 has honestly hit harder than 2022, so the number could probably go up even more. But that original number is about $12,980 per year, and then accounting for inflation, the number would be about $16,000 to $17,000 per year. So we're gonna see how my numbers compare to that general statement. And again, if you make this video or if you work these numbers yourself and just leave a comment, let us know if you get something similar to those numbers or how much things cost for you. First off, we have housing. Okay, out of all the expenses, this housing might be a little bit hard to follow out of like everything. Basically, when we were in the apartment, it was a 2-bedroom, 1-bath. We are now in a 3-bedroom, 1-bath, but it's a house. 1000% only moved into this house because I wanted my boys to have a backyard. I feel like it was a want, but also a need. When my kids are home, I want them playing. And the apartment, there were just so many complaints if my kids were running around or playing. And I'm like, boys run, okay? That could be a whole different rant for a whole different day. But let's just summarize by quickly passing through this so this video is not super long. I really had to move so that my boys could have a backyard. So my rent is $1,400 per month. $500 of that is because I have kids, right? So $500 per month, 12 months, that's gonna be $6,000 per year that I pay for housing because of my kids. Realistically though, if I didn't have kids, I'd probably be rooming. I'd have roommates, why not? And my room would be much cheaper. But during this entire video, I'm going to keep things as modest as I can and associate the lowest cost that I can towards the kids. Does that make sense? Okay. Food, I spend about $200 per week on food. I already know more than half of that goes to my kids and all of their snacking and their lunches and all of their things. My boys eat a lot. So to keep this easy though, we're just gonna say half of the food cost is mine and half is associated with the boys. So that would be $100 per week for the boys. That's $5,200 per year that I pay for food for the boys. That's not gonna count fast food. That's not counting Happy Meals. That's not counting all of the other things that I pay for them, but that just like a general grocery budget, $5,200. Healthcare, we're gonna skip healthcare for now because that's so tricky. We're gonna talk about it at the end of the video, but let's just put a hard skip right now and we'll come back to that. Childcare, I have my boys in just a handful of summer camps this summer. If I were working off of YouTube and Etsy, obviously this would be so much more. But for childcare, what I'm paying for summer camps this year is $757. And I do realize in this video, I'm lumping 2 kids together. We're gonna divide everything at the end of this video, just to keep it simple on my brain, because while this is a budgeting channel, numbers are not my strongest suit, okay? So we're just counting everything together and then we'll divide it by 2 at the end. Clothing, okay, shoes alone, I spend about $1,200 per year on shoes for the boys. I have bad feet, their dad has bad feet, so I do spend a lot on quality shoes, and I never get shoes secondhand. It's just one of my things, okay? So I know I spend at least $1,200 per year in shoes, and then for clothes, I spend about $800 per year, about $200 per quarter. Again, this is very like mild estimates. It's probably much more, but just generally on shoes and clothes, I spend about $2,000 per year on the kids. Transportation, technically I have a $410 car note because of the boys, but we're not gonna put this in our number totals just yet. Towards the end, we'll talk a little bit more about this, but not counting gas to drive them around, not counting insurance, not counting the car note just yet, but I know for a fact they impact my numbers there. Education, and now if you don't know, my boys are homeschooled, so there are maybe some extra fees than if I were to have them straight in public school, but we're still gonna talk about it. For education, I pay $3,715 approximately per year to homeschool the boys. $1,715 of that goes towards tuition, so almost $2,000 towards straight tuition on a once a week class that I put them in. It's a drop-off class. I happily pay for it because I do have to work sometimes, right? And they get to do arts, they get to do experiments, they get to do all kinds of stuff. Honestly, I don't have to pay for the supplies for. Very much worth the expense there. For books alone, and I'm talking about reading books, like just books for the boys to enjoy, I spend about $400 per year on that. Curriculum, so like our math, our literature, geography, I probably spent $400 on just the geography this year. But for curriculum alone, I spend $1,300 per year. And then supplies, meaning like a lamination machine and some paper and some pens and glue, all of those kinds of things, I spent about $300 in a year. So education total again was $3,715. Some of those numbers are sort of estimating, and some of those numbers I've already figured out exactly. If you would love to see a homeschool specific video, let me know in the comments. I feel like I always get just a handful of you guys that are interested, so I keep kind of putting off the homeschool expenses and homeschool curriculum I'm using, but maybe one of these days I will eventually get that video done. Okay. Moving on though, we just have sports, miscellaneous, and fun, and then we're gonna start totaling everything out. Sports for the boys, I spend $2,192 in a year for the boys. That is a little bit misleading though, because one of my kids takes piano classes, and his classes are in a group setting. They're very, very cheap, but it's only the price for one kid. So one kid in piano is $420. If I had 2 kids, it would be doubled, but we're just working with my real numbers. One kid in piano for $420. One kid also does baseball every year. It's about $180. And then the same kid is in soccer, very much my extroverted child. And his soccer fee is $220 per year. So that's just numbers for one kid. Obviously, as my 6-year-old gets older and he starts to get into more things, this price is gonna go up a lot. Now included in that $2,192, both of the kids take gymnastics at $115 a month total, like for both of them to take it. That's $1,380 for both of them to do gymnastics. Did I even say that yet? Gymnastics. They're both in gymnastics. Okay, moving on to miscellaneous items and some fun items. Now, I do pay for pictures and yearbook. Last year, one of our homeschool moms put together a yearbook that I paid for. This year, I may put it together. Either way, you have to pay to like have the book created, right? I'm over explaining because y'all know my kids are homeschooled and I'm like explaining the cost of a yearbook. We do a yearbook and I do back to school pictures for my kids with a friend who is a photographer, but I still am paying her, right? So for pictures for the boys and for the yearbook, I pay at least $300 per year. Memberships, we do have $200 in memberships. I pay for aquariums for the boys and a museum pass. Those are expenses I would not be paying for if I did not have them, so definitely a cost for them. I'm going through this so fast, y'all. Are you keeping up with all of the numbers? If I don't have it running on the screen, which I may not, just to keep editing simple, I'm going to have in the description all of the numbers if you wanted to like really mull over everything, right? The only other thing in memberships is I do pay about $56 per month for either a trampoline pass for the boys or a swim pass. So both of those things cost about the same amount, but I don't pay for both of them at the same time just to keep costs down. So I will bounce between having an indoor pool pass where I'm paying every single month for the boys and I to have access to the indoor pool versus an indoor trampoline park pass. That is about $56. Doesn't matter which one we currently have a membership to, but we always have a membership to one of them. That works out to $672 per year for those passes. We're gonna get to some guesstimate prices at this point. We're gonna talk about birthdays and fun, okay? So birthdays, I estimate that we pay about $2,400 per year on birthdays. My boys' birthdays is always about $1,200 to like $1,500 or $1,600, depending on what they pick. Some years I take them on a vacation. Now, if you don't know, their birthdays are 2 weeks apart. So I'm lucky in that aspect that I can pay $1,600 for one family vacation and count it for both boys, right? So we'll either spend about $1,600 a year for the family vacation for their birthday, or they get to pick a big birthday item, whether it be a trampoline or a new gaming system, a new pet. One year it turned into a new pet. That's how I got 3 guinea pigs, which we haven't even talked about, have we? The guinea pigs are very expensive and they would not have been purchased if it wasn't for the kids. Not even in these numbers, but anyway, we're moving on. So they get to pick either big items. Each of them gets to pick a big item. They get to pick a big group family trip, or they get to pick a big birthday party. Last year, they picked a big birthday party at the trampoline park. It was about $1,400. So I'm putting down about $1,200 on this list for their own birthday, which is again a very modest estimate. And then I estimate that we spend about $1,200 per year on friend birthday parties, which seems like a lot, but honestly, we go to at least a birthday party or 2 every single month, and those presents really add up, and sometimes there's add-on fees associated with traveling to the birthday party or just purchasing extra fun items at the birthday party, depending on where it's had. So $2,400 for birthdays. I feel like that's, again, a very modest estimate for 2 kids. Here's where I do the most speculation in these costs, and that's gonna be for general fun. I'm putting us down for about $150 per month-ish, or about $2,000 per year on general fun. Now, y'all, that's including monster trucks, which is like $300 for one trip, summer fair, which easily is over $100. I wrote myself a little list, like what all did we do? We go to ice hockey games, there's a summer fair, monster trucks, skate parks, going to tickets to plays. We often have little friends in plays, or I want to take the boys to see, so tickets to plays, Disney on Ice, etc. We do something like that once a month, and I'm saying that we pay about $2,000 for these things. Now, $2,000 per year only works out to about $150 per month. And if y'all have been to Disney on Ice or monster trucks, you know that one of those trips alone can be $250 to $300. If you consider like all of the, you know, semi-professional baseball trips, literally, if I made a list of this alone, guys, it's probably double that number. But just say it's $2,000, like $1,000 per kid. So that is our baseline expenses. We're gonna talk about some hypothetical, but let's just talk about our real numbers first. So our real number and everything we just talked about totals to $25,436. That is for 2 kids. So with the total at $25,000, that is for 2 kids. So let's divide it just for fun.
It's $12,718.
$12,718, which puts us right at that like pre-inflation cost at $12,980, puts us right about there. There are some costs I didn't really calculate here, which we're about to talk about, but I also want you guys to keep in mind that I'm in Mississippi, so I would think my cost should be below the average number, right? Let's go back now and do a little bit of speculation, right? So if you remember, we did skip our utilities cost. My utilities are like internet, gas for the house, water for the house, and electricity. I also pay a $30 phone bill that is just the boys' phone bills because they have Gab watches. If you were to total all of my utilities, they total about $400. Let's play with some modest numbers again and say that the boys account for $100 of that $400. That would be $1,200 in utilities. I know they use way more electricity and water than me, playing with their like kid pools and their sprinklers and all the things. So again, that's a modest number. We also previously did not account for fast food. Let's say we spend $100 on fast food, and I know if I ran the numbers, I spend $100 in fast food per month, okay? I lost my hair tie. If you are still with me, thank you for sticking around. We have a few more just like speculating numbers, right? Healthcare, we also just skipped healthcare earlier. Healthcare has been a whole thing in this household. I don't even want to rant about it, but I did spend $4,000 last year on the boys' healthcare. That was just some things that weren't covered in insurance. We're not even talking about insurance costs in this video, but healthcare, we're gonna put $4,000 because I did spend $4,000 last year on some things that weren't covered, or like in the last 12 months I have spent that money, so $4,000. Disney Plus and apps, something else I didn't mention, but I do have Disney Plus. I wouldn't have that if I didn't have the boys. And there's little gaming apps that I pay for throughout the month for them. Let's say that is $200. Dare I even continue to say at this point? Again, very modest numbers. I know I spend more than that. And for the very last thing I'm going to talk about in this video is actual things that I buy. In the previous estimate, I didn't even account for things like Christmas, things like toys that I buy them throughout the year. Or we live by the beach, so we recently bought a big beach tent because I want the kids to be shaded while they're playing. $200 on that alone, okay? That alone was $200, and I didn't even put that in my like overall estimate yet. So let's say I spend $800 per year on both of the boys for actual things like Christmas stuff they want. $800 per year. I could easily triple that number, I think, but we're gonna stick with 800 because I'm only doing a guesstimate right now. So if you're counting all of these extra things like the fast food, healthcare, utilities, apps, stuff I buy for them, that would accumulate to about $7,400, and again, $4,000 of that was healthcare, which is a tip of the iceberg with healthcare needs, right? So if you total everything we've talked about in this video together, that's $32,836. You divide that by 2 because I do have 2 kids, and that works out to $16,418 is what I pay to raise a 6-year-old and an 8-year-old in Mississippi, or like per kid. So my numbers are right in line with what the US Department of Agriculture says. Like after inflation, people are paying per kid about $16,000 to $17,000. If you make this video, or if you want to comment your numbers down below, please do, and please let me know. I had so much fun making this video. I am not going to lie, as I was going through my bank statements and as I was going through all of my cash tracking and seeing exactly how much I'm spending for my kids, I was kind of proud of myself. I know that some might look at this and be like, girl, cut some expenses. But as a single mom, it feels really good to be able to give my boys this life and to see that like I've been making this happen. And in part, a huge part really, it is because of the support that you guys give me here on Etsy and on YouTube. So I want to say a genuine thank you, thank you, thank you for all of the love and support you guys show me. If you have not yet liked this video, please do that. It really helps this channel grow. I think that's it for today. As always, I love you, I appreciate you, and I will see you again soon. Bye-bye.